Thank you. The rapid worldwide adoption of social and digital platforms has created an unprecedented opportunity to scale massive global audiences. No longer does it take years and millions of dollars to build and scale an audience of millions of people around the world. No longer do you have to be a major corporation, an established brand, or a mainstream celebrity to build and scale audiences of millions of people around the world. The opportunity is available to everyone, and today I will show you how to take advantage of it. The key to scaling a massive global audience as quick as possible is by hacking word-of-mouth sharing of your brand and your content. As a digital strategist, I'm often brought into situations by companies and brands that have burned through hundreds of thousands, in some cases millions of dollars, on ineffective growth strategies. Today, we will focus on how we can go global in the quickest time period using the most cost-efficient and effective growth strategies available today. In order to do that, I'll focus on two key areas. First, what I learned by working with some of the top celebrities in the world about how to engage and reach millions of people around the world. Second, how I took those learnings from working with some of the top celebrities in the world to build a system for people starting from zero on how you can grow and scale within such a short period of time. So let's start with what I learned by working with some of the top celebrities in the world. So my background in digital is diverse in the fact that I pretty much touched every aspect of digital over the years, because I'm of the mindset that I want to constantly test, learn, and try new things. So the first part of my career, I started off in the entertainment industry, managing digital divisions for 2 movie studios, overseeing marketing of digital campaigns for theatrical releases ranging anywhere from $15 to $100 million budget films. Then working with finding new opportunities to monetize film libraries, to working directly with actors and directors on how to further syndicate their brand online. From there, I knew I wanted to explore and reach out and branch out to be an entrepreneur. So then I started building technology platforms and licensing and partnering with some of the largest media entities in the world, such as MTV, Viacom, Vice, Yahoo. And those opportunities afforded me the opportunity to work with some of the largest celebrities in the world. So one such celebrity was Taylor Swift, and I had the pleasure of building technology platforms for her and her team for about 2.5 years. And this came through a partnership that I structured with MTV. And the most eye-opening experience in working with Taylor was that she grew her fan base one by one herself. She didn't have a major record label behind her. She didn't have millions of dollars of budget. She grew her fan base one by one through her own efforts. And what I learned that was so brilliant about Taylor's model is she understood the importance of fostering one-to-one communication with her fans. She realized with each comment she responded to, with each photograph she took, with each autograph she signed, not only did that fan become a loyal fan for life, but it turned them into a brand advocate. And because at this time, social media platforms were starting to emerge, when these fans turned into a brand advocate, they weren't just sharing her message, her brand, and her music with 5 or 6 of their closest friends. They were posting it on their social channels, so their MySpace profiles, Facebook, and other platforms. And that allowed her to reach hundreds and sometimes thousands of connections per fan that she engaged with. And that's how she grew so fast, is fostering that one-to-one loyalty to turn an army of people into brand advocates for her. So that was a lot of the work that we worked with her on from a technology standpoint, is we would build platforms that could scale that word-of-mouth sharing and give tools to those brand advocates so they could express their love for Taylor. And one thing that we realized early on is there was a select group of people that knew how to write HTML and design, so they were creating Taylor Swift fan websites to express their love for Taylor and her music. And at the time, there was about 30 people that had built Taylor Swift fan websites. But we thought, what if we could give the power of that creation capability to all fans? So that's what we did, is we built a platform that literally with a single click of a button, we could turn any Facebook profile into a Taylor Swift custom fan website in less than 60 seconds. And we did this by, you choose one of 15 designs that we had created, and once you click that button, you would opt in and we'd extract your name and your photos from Facebook and put it into this Taylor Swift fan site. And once the site was created, and again, it was less than 60 seconds, you could customize every single element of it. And in less than 30 days, we had created over 35,000 Taylor Swift fan sites, all promoting Taylor's music, Taylor's message, Taylor's brand to the world. From there, Rihanna saw the success that we were having with the Taylor Nation program, and she had her record label, Rock Nation, reach out to us about creating a similar platform, because she too wanted to engage her fans and her audience and give them the powerful tools that we had created for Taylor. So we had created a similar system where we had taken all of the artwork for Rihanna's albums over the years. And again, with a click of a button, you could insert your name and your photos into this artwork and make it look like you had collaborated on Rihanna's latest album. And we had designed it in such a way that it could fit as your timeline cover on Facebook's profile feed. So we had over 1 million fans participate and create covers on this platform. But because we had designed it in such a way that it could fit at the top of your Facebook profile, we had reached 80 million people worldwide. So in both of these situations, we were fueling the hacking word-of-mouth sharing of both Rihanna and Taylor's brand by giving the fans tools to really spread the message for them. So from here, I had the experience of working with celebrities, but I really wanted to understand how brands and corporations generate mass exposure. And they were all leveraging paid media to really fuel their growth. So over the course of 3 years, I helped build one of the largest paid media optimization firms where we were optimizing paid media for some of the largest corporations and brands in the world. We were optimizing tens of millions of dollars a year. And that was another eye-opening experience, because we would have instances where brands would come to us and say, here's a piece of content that we just spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on, and in some cases millions of dollars, and we want to spend another $1 million promoting it to a specific demographic. Let's say it's females 35 to 50. But when you ask them, how do you know that this piece of content is going to resonate with that audience, 9 times out of 10, they wouldn't have the analytics, data, or social intelligence to support the decision. And I just thought there must be a better way to go about this rather than just gambling millions of dollars on a piece of content and hoping that it would work. So I left working on that company and started building a set of testing methodologies and predictive calculations and algorithms on top of the Facebook platform so that we could really scale tests of content and really understand what it took to get people from different backgrounds, from different parts of the world, to engage and generate validated responses or intended responses from the audience they were trying to reach. And early on, I was having a lot of success in that capacity, and I wanted to apply it to another medium. I wanted to see if it could be applied to growing audiences, to scaling followers around the world. So I started off in action sports because after moving to California, I became infatuated with the surf culture and surf community. And I really wanted to understand how the business worked. And as soon as I got in, I was surprised by the fact that the earning potential by action sports athletes is really predicated based upon how big your social following is. So you will have instances where there's professional action sports athletes that aren't even good enough to qualify to compete on tour, making 3 to 4 times the amount that the top-ranked athletes on tour are making. And I knew that this was just unfair and unjust, so I wanted to see if I could solve this problem and use these testing methodologies that I had built to scale audiences so that these action sports athletes that put in the hard work, the time and dedication, could really recognize the earning potential of the athletes that had generated a major social following. And as I started this process, I became fascinated with the data as it started to roll in. And I started to see data of interactions coming from different parts of the world. And that's where I became fascinated about what would it take to become a celebrity in a specific country or a specific region around the world. And then I started questioning, okay, this is great for a major musician or a rock star or a professional athlete, but what about those of us that are starting from zero? Could we use this success that we were seeing for people starting from scratch, people starting from zero? And I knew the only way to really know the answer to that question was to go off and test and try it. So when thinking about who would be the perfect case study for this, who could I just try this out on, I thought, why not myself? I was definitely not a musician or a rock star. I can guarantee you I can't carry a tune. I'm not a model. I've never been on television or film, and I'm not a professional athlete. So I thought, okay, I'm going to go off and try this. So over a 30-day time period, I used an agile approach to testing, measuring content in real time, using the testing methodologies and predictive calculations I developed. And every day at midnight, I would schedule a test of between 50 to 300 variations of content. And when I woke up in the morning, I would measure the results. And I would use the results and see what had worked and what had not worked to fuel the next set of tests at the next night at midnight. And I used an agile approach that's an adaptive process that includes three key steps. And some of you may seen a similar process, but I use this to do it at scale. So the first step is the hypothesis phase, where you find out what is the core message that you want to get across for your brand, your company, or you as an individual. And once you have that identified, then you set the hypothesis. What is the content format, theme, or story that you think is going to best represent that core message? And in the second phase, you quickly move to the testing phase, where you create a low-cost proof of concept of that hypothesis. And when I mean low cost, I mean low cost. I don't want you spending tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of dollars to create this. What is the low-cost barrier of entry that you can get just to test and learn? Because we want to get to that proof of concept phase as quick as possible. And then in the third phase, it's a pivot phase, where we measure the results from that test and determine, did our hypothesis prove true? Did we generate the intended response from the people that we were trying to reach? In this case, was getting people to engage with a brand that they had never been exposed for. So during this testing process, I extensively tested every piece of content I could get my hands on, because what I wanted to do is really learn what it took to get different people from different backgrounds, from different parts of the world, to engage with a brand that had never been seen before, because I wanted to share the results with you. It wasn't about making myself a celebrity. It was about how can I experiment, test, and learn what it takes. So over the course of 30 days, I repeated this process over and over again, and I tested over 5,000 variations of content. And at the end of that 30-day period, I couldn't believe my eyes. I had generated over 1 million followers in 100 countries in less than 30 days. And it wasn't that I hadn't seen big numbers before, because I had seen it with working with a Taylor Swift or a Rihanna or a professional athlete. It was the fact that it was me, a nobody, sitting behind a screen that was never on film or television, or a rock star or professional athlete, could forge a connection with 1 million people around the world in less than 30 days. So what I really learned from this was that whether you're an established entity, a major corporation, or a brand, or you're somebody starting from zero, with the right growth strategy, you can build a significant global audience quickly. So we have 1 million followers, great, now what? Your job isn't done. It's only half the battle, because I will tell you right now, if you're fostering a connection with 1 million people in less than 30 days, it's not the same as building a connection with millions of people over a 2 or 3 year time period. So you need to keep your audience engaged, and you need to keep them engaged for 2 reasons. First, you need to maintain that attention, because they are going to get pushed 60 billion messages on digital platforms each day. You need to overcome the noise and stand out. And again, this relationship is new, so you have to foster and build that relationship. Second, what I learned by working with Taylor Swift and Rihanna is you need to constantly keep people sharing your content and exposing your brand and continuing that growth. One of the biggest obstacles that you have to overcome is the social algorithms that dictate what content shows up in the feed. With Facebook and Twitter, it's very prominent, and with Instagram, it's going to scale over the next few years. So with Facebook specifically, once you hit 1 million people, you're only reaching 2 to 5% of your audience with each post. So it's more critical than ever to overcome that by getting people to share your content for you. It's the only way to win that battle. And I constantly see, and I'm sure you have, accounts with millions of followers on Facebook or Twitter with very little engagement. They'll get 100 people liking a post. And I didn't want to be one of those people, because what's the value of having 1 million people and 100 people liking or engaging in your content? There's really no value there. It looks off, and you can't really build anything through that. So I knew I had to come up with a solution. So that same agile approach I used in growing that followers, I used on every piece of content before I posted it to the main feed. So before I even clicked publish, I would run hundreds of variations of a single post behind the scenes using dark post to test and learn what was the exact variation that would yield the highest return, the highest engagement, the highest shareability. Sometimes testing hundreds of variations of a specific piece of content. And you may ask, why put in so much work? Why not just post a video or post an image? Well, I don't know about you, but I'm not a creative genius. I can't simply create a piece of content and get 100,000 people or 1 million people to share it. And frankly, I only know about 10 people on this planet that can do it on a consistent basis. So for me, it's all about testing and learning and hacking word of mouth sharing through this agile approach of constantly testing and learning what it takes to get somebody to share a piece of content for you. So with every test of piece of content before I publish it to the main feed, I was constantly learning and understanding what worked and what didn't work. And I was using these tests to fuel and dictate the next piece of content I would produce. So it's fueling that short-term content strategy, as well as helping me develop a long-term content strategy to get people to share content at the highest possible velocity. At the end of the day, we want to get the audience to do the heavy lifting for us, because that's really how you can see massive growth in the shortest period of time, is get people to share your message, share your content, and share your brand for you. So with the right growth strategy, it no longer takes years and millions of dollars to scale and build a brand, a global brand. The opportunity is available to everyone. And the key to scaling a massive global audience as fast as possible is through hacking word-of-mouth sharing. And going back to that example with Taylor Swift, growing her fan base one by one with a strategy of turning each of those one-to-one interactions into brand advocates. Because if you can get the people to do the heavy lifting for you, you can drive massive global scale in a very short period of time. So thank you guys so much for the time. If you want to get a copy of the keynote, I saw some of you taking photos. I'll be more than happy to send it to you, and I'll actually stay after for a few questions out in the back. So thank you very much.